Hey, welcome back, my amazing students. This is the Python Mentor here, helping you master Python step by step. So in OOP, or Object-Oriented Programming, we have this feature called inheritance. Now, what is inheritance about? Inheritance is about inheriting data or functionality from one class to another class, all right? And let me show you in a code here how this actually looks. Basically, we're going to be using the data or functionalities from this class into another class. We're going to inherit some of this stuff, all right? So we can extend the class or reuse it, however we want to do it. So let's go ahead and create a class here. I'm going to call this, since we already have a regular bank account, let's do a savings account, just like that. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating another class in the same file. But keep in mind that you can have a class, a main class, right, in a different file and import it into wherever you need it. And then what you need to do is, if you want to use that, is inject it into that new class that you want to use it from, all right? So we want to use this bank account blueprint or class in the savings account class. And I just pass it in the parentheses here. Now we need to do a couple more things here, all right? First of all, let's go ahead and call the init from this class itself, and let's constructor. This would be the constructor. So let's go ahead. We're gonna accept a name, we're gonna accept a balance on this class, and we're gonna accept a interest rate. Remember that self is already included automatically, so we don't have to deal with that, all right? All right, so now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the constructor of this parent class. This is going to be a child of this class here. So we're going to inherit our parent stuff. So if I wanted to call my parent or the parent constructor, I would use the keyword super, or should I say the function super. And then I chain it with this other keyword or this other method called init. So now we're accessing the init, all right, the constructor of this class here, the parent constructor. You can see now that when I put my here, like when I click it a couple of times, you can see that that always highlights this one as well. Of course, because it's the same, we are, spelling it the same. But anyway, we'll come here, and what are we gonna get from there is the name and the balance, right? Well, you can see it right here. Let's go ahead and take this off, this private specifier there. So we're going to take that off. Make sure, because if we make it private, we won't be able to access this. So everywhere you have that 2 double underscores, take it off so that way you get no errors, okay? Hopefully I'm not missing anything here and I don't get no errors later, but yeah. So now that we're calling the parent constructor here, let's go ahead and assign some of the data for this particular class here. So I'm gonna create a attribute here called interest rate, and I'm going to assign the interest rate that is gonna come in from the outside. We're gonna pass this in a minute, okay? So now what I wanna do also is I wanna add another method to this class here. This has nothing to do with this parent class. This is for the child class, okay? And let's go ahead and pass this keyword self. We always need that in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some calculations here. So I'm going to grab the balance. I'm going to multiply that balance times the interest rate. And that should give me what I need, at least for that part. I'm going to grab the balance here again. And I'm going to append the interest rate, right? The interest that I get, the calculation that I get from here, this multiplication, I'm going to append it to the balance here, right? And when I say append, guys, what I actually mean is add and assign, right? That's what we're basically doing here, all right? So this is the shorthand version here for those of you that are starting out. And then we can just print this. We'll print something here. We can say interest of, and let's just do F string here just to make it a little bit better here, interest of, and we'll just format the interest here with 2 decimal places, right? So we'll do 2F, and we'll say add it for the name of that person, and we're gonna also show the new balance. And we're gonna format that with 2 decimal places as well. All right, .2F. All right, so this should work interestingly. Anyway, let's call this basic here. Okay, let's see if our program actually doesn't give any errors here. Let me see something here. Yeah, we're still good here. So let's create the savings here real quick. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a different user. So I'm gonna do Maria, of course, and how much money and the interest. So Maria, we give it the balance, and then we give the interest rate. So let's say 0.6 or 0.7. I forgot about the interest rate. So now what we could do, this is super simple here. What we could do, we could grab the savings. Let's start with Jose here. We can grab Jose's instance here and say, I want to deposit $200, or let's say $500, right? And if I do that, then it will deposit that into Jose's account, okay? So I could easily go ahead and print this out, and I'm gonna just print out the whole thing there, right? Let's come back here. And you can see that Jose's deposited $500, and now he has a new balance of $1,700, all right? All right, cool. So let's go ahead and put this on top here. Now that we are inheriting, or should I say, extending this class into this class here, this child class, now we could use some of these other methods that we got in this parent class automatically. So I can come here and say, I can grab the instance of Maria. I can say savings, and I'm gonna withdraw some money from Maria's account. Now, because I have access to the parent methods and or properties or attributes, whatever you want to call them. And I can withdraw, let's say, $100 from Maria's account. Maria has $1,500. I can withdraw $100. Maria is actually very frugal, and she likes to save, so she will have $1,400 left. All right? Now, since I already also created a method on Maria's or on this savings account, on this child class, I can also use that, okay? So I can use my parents' methods, and I can use my own methods, right? Since I'm a child of my parent. So we can add interest to that, okay? And we can just print out Maria's stuff here. All right, so save that and run this. Let me just do it cleanly here. And you can see my Maria withdrew $100, remaining $1,400. Interest, 98.00 added for Maria, new balance, 1498. She was charged 0.7 of interest, right? Or should I say she gained interest? So that's it, as you can see that. And now, guys, all you have to remember, right, when you're inheriting things or you are using extending classes, as we call it, all you have to remember is very simply know that in the child class, you're going to have to pass in the parent class right here in parentheses, right? And then you're going to have to call in the constructor of your child class. You're going to have to call super, which is the function that's going to allow us to access the parent constructor. Remember that this goes chained in there, right? Now, since we are using, name, balance, and all this stuff, in this class here is available in our child class, if you noticed, right? We're using all this stuff right here, right? We're using the balance and we're using the name. We didn't actually specify that in our initiation right here. We didn't do that like we did with this one. We didn't do this self name. We could, and if we do that, we'll replace this guy right here because we can override those values, right? We inherit those values, we inherit these attributes the way they are right now, they are data, but we can also come here and rewrite them again and override the parent attributes, okay, or methods. So if I want to override withdraw here, I can just go and copy it and paste it here and override it and write my own withdrawal methods, right? Just because my parent has a nice house doesn't mean that I cannot build another house similar to it and add things to it, all right? Anyway, guys, this should be enough for you guys to understand inheritance. We're going to be using this a lot when we are programming, right? Anyway, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next lecture. Remember to like, subscribe, and go to the next video.